Welcome back, everybody, to episode number 3 here in the Happy Space Prison. We're going to take a pause and just kind of evaluate where we're at and what we need to do. There's a couple of different things we could do at this point. I'm still working on getting the branches set up, and I want to push through to do that for the Carnivore achievement. Normally, if I was doing a playthrough that I wasn't worrying about achievements, right now I'd be focusing on setting up farms so I can get a sustainable food source so that I don't have to stress about food, and I can take my time and work through other problems as they come along. Because of the achievement run, I can't set up the farms because of the not being able to use farmable tiles. I can try to get some resources out of some of the wild plants, but wild plants take a long time to grow as opposed to the domesticated ones, and so you need a lot of them in order to feed even a small group of colonists. And so what I'm going to do, and I always debate about whether I want to do it or if I want to try something else, but I'm going to build a little kitchen area and set up microbe musher. Microbe musher takes dirt and water and turns it into food for the colonists. And I don't really particularly like doing the microbe musher because it's not really great food, and it's just, you know, it's frustrating sometimes. But you know, usually something much better we can do with the dirt and the water. But I want to not stress about food while I'm expanding out a little bit, and the microbe musher is going to make it so we can do that. So we're going to do a microbe musher. We're going to do an electric grill as well. And we're going to need to get power up to those. And we're going to come down here and connect that all up. Now, as far as skills go, I've switched out priorities for Meemaw so that she is set on operating now. So I just have one build digger for the moment. We'll get more in. But then I have Meemaw focusing on doing toggling to high priority just in case I want to switch a door or something. She'll just run over and do that. But then life support, tidying, supplying, and operating. So that means that when the generator needs run, it'll be a priority for her and things like that. So obviously she's going to continue to work on the building and digging when there's nothing else for her to do. But that way we'll have her focusing on making sure everything is set up, including the life support, which means keeping the outhouses running and things like that. So we're going to get this set up just so that we can start getting a regular food source in, because right now we're sitting on 0 calories. We'll also get some calories from exploring in here, and we're going to work on that for sure, because that's where we're going to get a bunch of hatches to bolster our hatch ranch. Right now we have 5 out of 7, and they would grow into becoming enough hatches pretty quickly, because once we domesticate them and they're tamed, they grow a lot, but or they reproduce a lot, but they're not going to do it as fast as I want for the Carnivore achievement unless we get more to start. And there's plenty of them out there. All of these buried objects have a chance to be either seeds or food or hatches. And so we're going to go through and we're going to kind of strategically dig out to get those out. I'm not going to just expand completely and dig it all out just yet, because A, that'll take a lot of time, and I'm short on dupe power at the moment. And I want to slowly get the oxygen to disperse as we go. Speaking of that, I'm going to put in another oxygen diffuser up here closer to the top, since we have the power up here now, so that we can have oxygen that's being sent up into this area. As we expand, the oxygen will fill out. We also have 5 duplicants, and this oxygen diffuser is at its max trying to produce the oxygen needed. They all use about 100 grams per second of oxygen per cycle, and so with one diffuser, we're just barely at the line where we need to be. So I'm going to let them fill this in. We'll get it set up. As soon as we get another duplicant, we're going to be looking for a dedicated cook to be cooking up here, probably a couple of them, so that we can have one person making the mush bars and one person cooking them. That'll give us extra calories as well. So it'll take a little time to get all that set up, and in the meantime, I'm just going to start digging out, and we'll come back when we are ready to move on to our next project. I recorded a small clip after I did some of the digging to explain what I'm doing, and I didn't realize that my mic was off. So I'm going to explain it again. Right here, we have set up a little bit of automation, and this is automation. The first time I ever saw it was something Francis John did, but it's really simple. There's an automatic dispenser up here that drops things down to this tile. This door is going to be locked, which means that nobody can get in here. So anything they drop, they won't be able to reach, which means they won't drop the item and continue to loop it. So we can set this to eggs, and that means if it's high priority, they'll come down here, they'll pull the hatch eggs out of these ranches. That means these hatches can continue to grow without having the loss of reproduction, because there's eggs in their space confining. So we're going to set this to critter eggs, which is down at the bottom. We're going to set it to high priority. We also want to set this to high priority for them to toggle this door so that way they lock that pretty quickly. It takes a little time for everything right now because we're so short on duplicant. But the ultimate goal from where we are right now is to continue to explore and get more hatches, and to continue to get more eggs that are incubating to increase our hatch population so that we can get all 3 of these stables full. And if we can do that by cycle 40, then we'll be in good shape, because that means we have 60 cycles left to eat 400,000 calories, which means all we have to do is eat 6 and 2/3 thousand calories per cycle all the way to the end. Obviously, we'd want to do it a little faster than that, so we're not going right up to the end. But if we have a renewable source of meat by cycle 40, which we should be pretty comfortable doing, that means that all we need to do is have 7 duplicants in the colony eating meat, and we'll be set for carnivore. Carnivore is one of the time-limited achievements. Locavore falls in with that because we also have to eat 400,000 calories, so it just kind of falls in line with the locavore achievement, or with the carnivore achievement. And then after that, we have super sustainable that limits us based on what kind of power we can use, but it doesn't limit us on time. We can take our time with that. So after we get through that first 100 cycle gap, getting carnivore done, we can play however we want. And that's our goal. So I'm going to continue to dig and explore. Every time we find hatches like this one, we're going to wrangle them up. Our ranchers will run up and grab them and put them in here. The priorities are already set up so that when this one's full, this ranch will start filling up. One other thing I need to change is I do want these guys eating sedimentary rock, but that's for later, because I want to get to the point where we are just keeping them fed for now, because I just need eggs. I need eggs like crazy. So we're going to set it to sandstone as well, which will keep us getting hatch eggs. And then we'll switch it over to sedimentary rock when we have a better source of that, so that we can switch them over to stone hatchlings. So now that that's done, they'll come in here. I'm going to set these to priority 6 for the storage containers, and 7 for the critter feeders. And that will make it so that we keep the food stocked, and that's a priority, because keeping these hatches fed so that they can keep breeding is a priority. Just so happens we got another printing pod, so let's take a look at that. This one is an electrical engineer, which is a pretty good skill to have, and they're biohazardous, which doesn't bother me. This one, I don't care about the yokel, but I do not like the decreased excavation. I would take them if I had to, but I think this one is the better one for what we want. Let's welcome Max into the colony. He's going to be our 6th, which means we need to add a new bed. For the next one, we have 6 tables down here, so we also need to add another mess table for our next duplicant. Let's check out our schedule. Max is going to hop on to schedule 2, because that's the one that just started their workday. And as far as his priorities, I think that we're going to set him up so that he can be the same as Meemaw, where he has toggling as a high priority, life support, tidying, operating, and supplying. And then we're going to take him down on building and digging for now. I just want another person to stick around the base handling things. And we'll probably work on getting him into being a cook. Actually, we can do it right now. That way we have the cook. And then we can get started doing the mush fry, which will help us increase some of our calories. You only get an extra 250 per mush bar, but every little bit helps right now. So that's all set. Max is good to go. We're going to let things continue to go, exploring and digging out in here. Hopefully we'll find a bunch more hatches and get them loaded into our ranches, and then we'll be set. It's time to check back in. We've done quite a bit of exploration. Let's pause and take a look. We have dug out pretty much everything we can in the starting biome and some of the surrounding areas too. We combined our old water pool down into this one. We've also gone through this area to get through to see if we could find anything useful. We got a bunch of food in the process, so it has helped us to stay up with the calories. Even though we've turned off a mush bar fabrication, I don't think there's anything left I can actually dig out that has any buried objects in it at all. That's okay, because we are now getting ready to take care of our first hatchling that hatched. So what we're doing is we're switching this door so that it's open, and this we set to sweep only, which means that we can go in here and grab things. Don't have to worry about them grabbing the eggs. We have 26 other eggs that are about to hatch. And we're grabbing this hatchling, and he is going to be the first one in our third stable. So we have 14 total, plus now a 15th. And we have the 26 eggs to hatch, and they're all in various stages. They should be hatching very soon. This will be definitely filled by 40, which was our goal. And we have a bunch of extra eggs that are cooking up. So over the next 60 cycles, we can continue to expand and hopefully increase food production, but I think that we've already hit the minimum we need so that we can survive to get to it. We have enough calories to last. Right now we have 8 duplicants. They use about 8,000 calories per cycle, which means we have about 8 cycles before we run out of muck root that we have dug up. And without getting, taking into account some of the other plants that grow and a little bit here and there, it's about 8 cycles before we need to worry about food. And I think that we should have this filled by 8 cycles, which means we can start taking out the extra eggs and turning them into food at that point. So we're doing great. We're on target for the carnivore. I'm going to work on now kind of organizing some things out that we have in here. Oh, there's a buried object right there above the bathroom. Maybe that's a hatch. We'll see. It is. That's funny. So let's put him in. We have some issues with people suffocating. That's just because they're going beyond the area where they can get back, and they just do it just for a couple of seconds because of gases. We need to work on handling the carbon dioxide. This algae terrarium is holding it off a little bit, but we really need to process it properly with a carbon skimmer. And we just need to start kind of reining things back in. We rushed ahead because we wanted to get all the hatches because we needed them right away so that we could start them going. And now we can work on cleaning things up slowly while those hatches do their thing to provide us with all the meat that we need. So I'm going to let this go for a while, and we're going to keep working a little bit here and there just to clean things up. And we'll start working on doing some more advanced productions of things. did a little bit more in our next step of automation. I'm going to show it to you really quickly. I built this room very deliberately the way I did because eventually this is going to become our nursery for our incubators to run our hatches. And so this is the typical setup I use for it. I need some automation in order to make this work, which means I need a little bit of refined metal. So I put in a rock crusher, and we're currently converting some copper ore into copper. So the way that's going to work once I have that is we're going to use a critter sensor in here inside this door, and it's going to set it so that as soon as a critter drops down in here, it will close the door, which will cause this water to fill up these two tiles, which means that that critter will turn into meat, evolve into meat, as they say. That is the goal of it. So the process for doing that is going to require us to have the critter sensor, which we just finished making. So let me put that in. And then we're going to need an automation wire that goes to it, like this. So I want to make sure that the bottom part of this gets done first. So I'm going to set that high priority. And then all that it's going to take is we'll have hatches in this room. And then when they grow up and they're not babies anymore, they'll hop down in. We wouldn't care if they went down in when they were young, but they won't. They'll wait until they're older. And once they do, as long as we have more than one critter in here, the door is going to close and they'll get turned into meat. That's the process. This critter drop-off I set at a low priority so that when I'm taking critters from up here and dropping and wrangling them, it'll fill these rooms first, and then they'll drop them off down here. So we'll just basically still continue it manually until we get the sweeper set up, and then the hatches that are in here will get placed into these nurseries first, and then here last. And that means that the ones that are in here will be only excess ones, and then we can turn them into food. So what we want this to be is we don't want to count eggs. We want to be, as long as you are below 1, send a green signal. So that means once 1 goes in here, it will no longer be below 1, and the door will close. That's all we need. So now we can watch these eggs here, and when they hatch, we'll turn it off and we'll wrangle them in, and they'll fill up the hatcheries, and then they will put them down here, and then they would automatically get done. Now, when we have excess down here, we'll probably turn them into food right away by sending out combat, but at least we have a semi-automated way to do it. And once we get a Mechatronics Engineer and we can put in our sweepers, we can just switch it so that instead of having them get put up here manually, it is all shipped down here and dropped off into this room. We just don't have the ability to do that quite yet. I think I am going to start that research, though, just because now we have the duplicants around to do it. So what we want is under shipping, which is a little bit higher, I think. Solid material, we want this research tile, which is going to require us to do this through here, which is fine. We need some of this stuff anyway, like the hydrogen generator, for when we get to doing a SPOM. So we're going to do that research. We're going to keep an eye on this so that when they hatch, we can send them down and get them turned into food. We still have 45,000 muck root. We can turn on the mush bars if we need to, but I don't think we're going to. I'm also making 40 copper because that will be what I need to make the incubators when I place them. So we're just working ahead a little bit while we can. So we're all set. Let's take a quick moment to look at our colony summary to see all the achievements that we've done in the process of doing this. I haven't been paying attention to them too much because I've just been rushing to get through to Carnivore, but we've gotten quite a bit. So we finished out a good egg because we had a new critter morph from an egg. We have red light, green light because we just placed that automation. Bed and bath we got pretty early on because we just needed the toilets for the colonists and the bedrooms. It's not raw. We cooked a couple of things with the mush fry, but we also had a pufflet that I turned into barbecue, so we've actually eaten some barbecue as well. Outdoor renovations we built outside of our starting biome. And that's it for now. if we go to look at our achievements that we're focusing on, carnivore, locavore, we have 65 cycles remaining, and we haven't eaten any meat. So that means we need, I guess that puff didn't get turned into food. That's interesting. But anyway, we're halfway through on locavore, which means that we'll hit this before we hit carnivore, but we're still going to push through to get the 400,000 for carnivore, obviously, because we want that achievement. But we're doing really well with those achievements. I'm going to let this go in between episodes here for a little while, and when we come back, we'll have everything stocked up, and we'll be on an all-meat diet, and we'll start pushing forward to do even some more automation to make the process dupe-free, and our dupes will be freed to work on other things, like researching the things that we need, and cleaning this place up, because when you're rushing for the achievements, you don't worry about things like polluted oxygen and carbon dioxide building up and base management. You just kind of get it where you can so that you can get to it. And that's okay. After this, I'm going to slow things down quite a bit because I like to play where I'm taking my time and getting things done. And that's why I often end up with bases that are 4,000 or 5,000 cycles. And that's okay with me. I hope it's okay with you. I hope you enjoyed watching today's episode. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.